Honorable Minister, co-speakers on the podium here, distinguished guests, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Excellencies, good morning, Assalamu alaikum. It's indeed a great pleasure to be here as part of this conference that Mr. Ejaz Nisar organizes. And trust me, this is not my coinage. He coined the word, the annual Urs of the CEOs. But much is debated at these annual events. There is substance offered by attendees, by delegates, and by the speakers, which is of value. The translation of all that and providing it as a concrete evidence of a feedback of a concerned nation to the policymakers is also their responsibility, which I believe, and I have no reasons not to, has been regularly done. But whether it has met the test of having been read and applied and used is something that only time can prove. The subject of the conference that is out there, as you can see, building trust for growth. So what I would try and do is that, first I think let me take a clearance. How many minutes do I have? She has given me 5 long minutes to make an observation here. Thank you very much for that. So I'll restrict myself very quickly to 1 or 2 areas of critical importance that ultimately go to determine the topic of the conference. First and foremost, I grew up in this country as a very happy person. Is that a surprise? We had a very happy environment, and trust me when I'm saying that. We lived in an era, and I've grown in this country as a happy individual. Perhaps never before have I seen so much of despondency that seems to be raking us across various segments of the society. And who do we blame? Do we blame leadership for it? Or do we blame followers for it? Is it you and I who have polluted the environment to make us despondent citizens of this country? Or is it somebody else? Have we surrendered our rights to be happy individuals? Because happiness, ladies and gentlemen, is critical to being healthy. And anybody who is healthy, physically and mentally, becomes a useful economic unit of energy. And when all these units of energies work in cohesion, they produce brilliant countries, brilliant organizations. So let's restore that thing back to us. The dilemma, unfortunately, with us has been that we continuously debate endlessly for lack of leadership. I have a slightly differing opinion, ladies and gentlemen. I think what we lack in this country is availability of followers. We have 250 million leaders. We just are looking for followers. We need to have enshrined a policy, and once the policy has been enshrined, people who are best to do so, people have to fall in line. That's how countries are made. You look around Northeast Asia, you look around Southeast Asia, you look around the newly industrialized countries of the world, they have been ruled with an iron hand. Once a policy has been given, incoming and outgoing governments do not damage the basic tenets of the economic policy. Those remain intact. Should I shock you with a statement of fact that since 1945, there have been 47 prime ministers in Japan? So how is it that it's a successful country, done economically so good? Because of the consistency in the policy. There is no rocking of the boat every time you have a change in Tokyo. No, it doesn't happen in that manner. I do agree and subscribe to the fact that when I speak of happiness out here to this audience, in this lovely environment, in this lovely ambience, you can relate to the word happiness because we are all happy. But should I walk out of this hotel, go out and speak to the man on the street and ask him that, why are you not positive? Why are you not happy? He possibly would lynch me. Because in an empty stomach, happiness is a difficult thing to achieve. We need to take care of those aspects. Coincidentally, Mr. Ehsan Iqbal and myself, if you would recall, we were part of a Korean government exchange program. We happened to be in Seoul. We had a Director General from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs who came in to speak to us, delegates from all over the world, and he was lecturing us on the benefits of democracy. How ironic. So there was a limit to which I could take it, but then I couldn't stomach it any further, and I raised my hand and said, "Excuse me, sir, I know your country has been developed by one single individual, and his name happened to be President Park Chung-hee, who ruled you with an iron hand from 1961 to 1979 till the time he was killed in a palace coup. He was the one who built the country. He was the one who gave the economic framework. He had a select group of economic managers. So now, having arrived at a certain level of economic prosperity, you were to talk of these fine aspects of rights. It sounds plausible. It's absorbable. I again remind you from history, ladies and gentlemen, Robert McNamara, who later on became the Defense Secretary in Richard Nixon's cabinet, was president of the World Bank. And he was meeting Chairman Mao Zedong. And he says to Chairman Mao Zedong that we don't have to do much to you. You will destroy yourself from within. And he said, how is that? He said, your population will take care of yourselves. The population bomb that's going to explode in your face. And very calm, as the chairman always was, as I've read his biographies, he just responded and said, Mr. President, because he was president of the World Bank then, Mr. President, you're forgetting one very important aspect of the human anatomy. He's totally shocked, the president. What is he talking about suddenly? I'm talking about population bomb, an economic implosion. He said, the close to 1 billion people China has, they were about 800 million at that point in time. They have only one mouth to feed, but they have two hands to work. You're forgetting that aspect. And see the transformation that's happened out there? It's all about a leader being followed effectively. That is where I think we have been unable to do our homework enough to tie in and bring in that cohesiveness, that gluing of various sectors and segments of our society, of our economy. Last night, मैं उनका नाम नहीं जानता, इत्तेफाक से चैनल पे मैंने देखा था, वो तकरीर कर रहे थे फ्लोर ऑफ द पार्लियामेंट पे, और न जाने वो क्या कहना चाहते थे, वही समझ सकते हैं, क्योंकि जो हिस्सा मैंने सुना वो मैं आपको दोहरा देता हूँ, और उर्दू में चूँकि था. With my apologies to people from the diplomatic corps who do not follow Urdu, I have to render this in English. And also it is always good, they say, that do not wash dirty linen in public. So I'm saving you from that, and I'm saving ourselves. उन्होंने ये कहा कि कहाँ हैं वो लोग जो निकल के आने वाले थे, कहाँ हैं वो लाखों लोग जो सड़कों पे आने वाले थे, और आप बात कर रहे हैं बांग्लादेश के लोगों की, वो गैरतमंद कौमें किया करती हैं. And I said to myself, what is he calling me? Because he's contradicting me as a community, and he's saying वो गैरतमंद लोग करते हैं, तो क्या हम क्या? I leave it at that. A mention was made, my apologies. The minister is a very patient individual, okay, so don't worry. The important thing is, a mention was made about ego. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an absolute necessity for all of us to have an ego. If we don't have an ego, people will steamroll us, nationally and globally. Okay, what should be avoided? The negative side of ego. The negative side of ego is where you become egotistical, you become egocentric. It's a journey, it's a full journey from egocentric to egomaniac. and then into the dungeons of self-pity, where you have suicidal tendencies both as an individual and as a society. But the positive side of ego leads you towards self-esteem, the confidence in yourself. Okay? That brings me to the subject of trust. Now, normally all of us, inclusive of myself, we synonymously use the word faith and trust, while they are two distinct factors in life. Faith does not require evidence. Trust always requires evidence. I'll prove it to you through one analogy. When Moses brings all his people to the brink of the Red Sea, and he says, we shall cross this path, there's sea ahead of them, and people yet are following him. Why? Because trust requires evidence. There is no evidence. So what did they have? They had faith, which does not require evidence. And they crossed, ultimately, the Red Sea. Trust, imagine it. I'm sure you all have young children. You have either your own children or you have your grandsons or your nieces. They love being flung in the air. When you flung the child in the air, the first time extremely nervous, the second time extremely confident because there is performance to back up the trust the infant develops. So in order for us to have trust in ourselves, let's first prove a few points to ourselves of doing the right things, and from there will emerge the trust. Now, if I have to tell somebody, as a Pakistani, please come and invest in my country, now I'm realizing that he doesn't trust me. So I get a compatriot, okay, Mr. Farid Alam, come and tell him that he can trust me. The moment I have done that, I have ceased to be a leader. I should abandon, I should leave and hand over to somebody that is being trusted, right? That is where a leader knows when to move forward and when to take a step backward. Lee Kuan Yew was prime minister for X number of years, but then he decided he has to hand over leadership to the younger people. So he takes a step back, doesn't leave politics, becomes a senior minister in the cabinet, works under different leadership, but provides guidance. So let's try and accept that strength and weaknesses are basically present in every scenario and every individual. Let's exploit the strength, ignore the weaknesses. We have far too long been concentrating on the weaknesses of each other. Let's abandon that, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to end, I promise you. We need some healing process, okay? And the healing process begins from here, ladies and gentlemen. I have something that I was reading last night in a book, and I thought I must mention this to you. These are not my words. This is Abraham Lincoln, who believes in availing the pool of talent that the United States of America has. So he has, as his cabinet, all his adversaries are members of his cabinet. That's the beauty of that man. And he says, fondly do we hope, fervently do we pray, that this mighty Scrooge, okay, I'm changing the word of war to terror, attack may speedily pass away, with malice towards none, with charity towards all, with firmness in the right. Let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to build up the nation's wounds, to care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for the widow. Walk the talk is absolutely necessary, ladies and gentlemen, and that's precisely what Lincoln did to his country. We need leadership at the corporate level, at an individual level, at the political level, at the economic level, at the social level, to be preaching only what is being practiced, nothing else. Thank you very much. God bless you all.